Hello and good evening everyone, and welcome to the Sunday Fireside Chat. And my name is Patrick, and I will be talking about the highlights of the week, what I've been seeing for the past few days. And just to begin with, I'm just going to quickly brief you about what actually happened this afternoon, so that everybody understand what actually happened. And we had some rain this afternoon, and just before we went out at 3:30 this afternoon, and I saw the heavy dark clouds building up from the south, and then moving in incredible speed to the north. And then shortly after that, and I had the thunderstorm up in the mountains, and I just said to him and Sebastian and Taras, I said that we might not be able to go out on a game draft this afternoon due to the storm approaching from the south. And we went out, and it was fun, and Tara drove around and looking for gorilla, and she had no luck. And then it started raining while she was searching for gorilla, and she had to come back to the base to put the vehicle under cover. And it stopped raining again, and we sent out the vehicle again. And she just had a brave visual of gorilla and the cubs on Zoe's Road moving south. And then we had some issues on the vehicle, and they had to come back again to sort out the issues. And they went out to try and relocate gorilla and the cubs, and then they had no jaws, and they had to come back because it was getting dark. So, and again, we don't want to view those cubs with the spotlight because they're still very, very small, and the eyes are not yet fully developed that they could be viewed with the spotter. So as I said the other day, that we will give it another 3 months or so, or 6 months or so, and see how it goes. And then after that, and then we might start viewing them with the spotlight after dark. And just to quickly recap on a couple of things that happened just over the week. In the 7i had a fantastic sighting of an elephant bull just on Philemon's cut line, and it was a very quiet morning because we drove around and looking in every single kind of the concession, and we didn't find anything interesting. And then as we drove over the road, and there was a big elephant bull feeding on the marula fruits on the side of the road, and then we approached him, and it was fine, very relaxed, and we just sat with him there very nicely, and Sebastian started taking some photographs of him. And at one stage, and then he came closer to the vehicle, and he stopped and he carried on feeding on the marula fruits. And again, he just kept coming closer and closer, and eventually, and then he walked right past the vehicle, and it was very, very close. I was just saying to Sebastian just before we went live here that he will have embraced the elephant because it was very, very close to the vehicle. And I also got to the stage where I said to myself, and then I should actually stop talking because he was really, really close to the vehicle. Because when the animal is that close to the vehicle, so you need to sit quietly and don't make any sudden movement, because you never know what it's going to do. And as I said, sometimes the animals will change from a good mood to the bad mood. So you never know. You can't really judge sometimes. Things just happen all of a sudden. So, but that was one of the great sightings that the 7i saw a couple of days ago. And yesterday morning, the hyenas were very, 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 very nice. And we went south to go and look for Induna, because we saw him on Wivist Nest Road, south of Philemon's Deep, and we lost him in the block there, and we couldn't find him anymore. So, and then we just decided, like, let's just go out there. And Seb said to me that he's in a very good mood, and he thinks we're gonna see something interesting. And of course, we saw the 2 young hyenas, and the other one was very, very small, maybe about the age of 6 months or so, and the other one maybe about 9 to 10 months to a year or so. And they were walking along the road, and I just decided just to park on the side of the road, just to give them the right of way. And they came right past the vehicle and walked up the road, and we followed them for a bit, and they ran back towards the vehicle again, and they were just like running up and down, and I just switched off the vehicle and just sat there quietly just to see what they were up to. And at one stage, that bigger hyena, and then he came to the vehicle and walked around the vehicle and was looking at Seb and looked at me, and they were like sort of like sniffing around the vehicle. And he walked around again on my side, and he looked at me like this, and he just kept coming closer and closer to me. And I'm like, as you know, the gander doesn't have the door on the side, and I started like shifting my feet away from him, because his nose was about this close to my feet, and I was wearing the sandals. And if I was wearing the boots, and I would have sat there and just observe what he was going to do. And he started chewing the side of the vehicle, and they chewed the duct tape that was protecting the wires going into the monitor. And I was like, oh wow, this is enough. And then this guy is just misbehaving himself. And I tapped the vehicle gently, and then he backed off, and then he came back again and started chewing, and then I just, no, this is enough now. Now he's destroying the vehicle. And again, I had to sort of chase him away, but I didn't really chase him. I just tapped the vehicle again, and then he kind of backed off. And he went back to his friend, the youngest hyena, and he started playing, running up and down the road. And then while we were sitting with them playing around, and we had the other hyena calling way in the distance, just west of Treehouse Dam. And I thought they were going to respond to that hyena calling, and they didn't respond at all. They just kept doing the own thing. Yeah? So they were in a very good playing mood. And eventually, and we looked up the road, and we saw that the hyena was calling the distance, come walking along the road, and the two youngsters were like in the long grass, and they were actually chewing the old tortoise shell. And they didn't see the other hyena approaching them down the road, and the other hyena also, they didn't see each other actually. And then he walked off the road into the bushes, and they just disappeared in the bushes. So we didn't follow him. We were not interested in him, because we were interested in the two youngsters chewing on the tortoise shell. And a couple of minutes later, and then the other young hyena, probably about the same age as the other youngster that was chewing on the side of the vehicle, and also came walking along the road, and he obviously surprised them, because they were busy doing the odd thing in the long grass. And as he was getting closer, and they must have picked up the smell or the sound, because they literally stopped chewing on the tortoise shell, and looked around, and they couldn't see anything, because they were lying down in the long grass. And this young hyena just kept walking along the road towards them, and they stopped chewing, and they ran out onto the road, and they started looking around, and they managed to see that young hyena, and they started greeting each other, rubbing their heads against each other, smelling each other all over the bodies, and they carry on walking down the road to the south, and disappeared. So that was a beautiful sighting as well. I mean, I haven't seen the hyenas and interacting that much, and just talking about the hyenas interacting and socializing, and that reminds me of one of the hyena sightings that I have seen in the Mlewadi River bed south of Spaghetti Crossing. So that was far more fabulous than we saw with the two hyenas playing around and chewing the bones. And then this particular hyena sighting, they were very, very full, and I think they must have chase the leopard of the Nyala killed, because in the long grass, because I went to investigate after they had left the scene, and I found the fresh hyena, not the hyena, the fresh Nyala bones in the ribs and the skin and that sort of thing. So, but that day, and with that hyenas, and they were like running up and down the riverbed, and they come back and they start rolling around in the soft sand, and like biting each other and like hitting each other with the paws and all sorts of things. So I mean, that was great. And I came back and I said to Craig, have you ever seen the hyenas and interacting, socializing like that before? And said, no, I've actually never ever seen something like that before. And that was fantastic. So sometimes they do. We just don't get to see them in the right time and that sort of thing. So that was fantastic. And again, moving on to the crocodile at the dam, and I was, if you were listening and watching the PM safari, I was just saying to the people that that hyena hasn't been around the dam for a while, and he is still at the dam. Tara was sitting there, was panning the camera, and she managed to see the crocodile at Gowrie Dam. So he might stick around there for a while. You never know. But as I've said fairly recently that he is gone, but he wasn't gone at all, so he's still there. So I suppose that there is a sufficient food for him. This one has been sticking around for a while, because if you remember, and we first saw that crocodile at Twin Dams, and he didn't stay there for too long. I think he stayed there for a few days, or 3 or 4 days, or a week or so, and then he left, and then came to Gowrie Dam. So I think he did not get sufficient food source at Twin Dams. So that's why he came to Gowrie Dam, and it's obviously a bigger dam. So I'm sure there's not lots of fish, maybe a fair amount of fish, and crabs and frogs, and the other water insects. So we're just going to keep an eye open around the dam every day and see if he'll do anything. And also, I think he has also been trying to catch the birds down at the dam. There's lots of Egyptian geese and other water birds that often hang around the dam. And then at one stage he also gave the buffaloes a fright. So they were lying up on the other side of the dam and then just chilling out there, and they just came cruising towards the buffalo and surprised the buffalo, and they got up and ran away, and then they came back and lied down again. But the crocodile for that side, as I said on the previous Fireside Chat, and I don't think he'll be able to bring down the large buffalo bulls like we often see down at the dam. So he was just giving it a go and see how the buffaloes would react. But I don't think he is in a position to bring down a large bear like a buffalo. And gorilla and the sightings, the 7i were very, very privileged about 3 or 4 days ago. It was also raining that morning, so we had to switch off the equipment in the vehicle, and as we were on our way back to the base to put the Ganda on charge and on the cover, and we heard on the radio that gorilla was located on Triple M, and I said to Seb, now there's no way that we're getting back to the base, because everything on the vehicle is protected, and I think let's just go to gorilla and just see them, and maybe it might stop raining, and we will go live from there. And then Seb and I went, and there was a couple of vehicles there, and then we just stand by for a gap, and fortunately we were able to move in, and one of the cub, when we got there, we didn't see the cub lying up in the tree, so we should have driven past the cub lying up in the tree, but it was actually looking at us in the road. And we drove around to where the gorilla was, and the other cub in the grass, and we just sat there, and look at them. But we didn't have a visual of the other cub, but because it was in the long grass. But we managed to see Kira just sticking up above the surface of the grass, and we just sat there for about 10 to 15 minutes, and it started raining too heavily, and we just decided to come back. As we were pulling out, and Sebastian spotted a beautiful leopard's cub just sitting up in the tree like that, watching us like this. So it must have been looking at us since we arrived there, obviously. And it took a couple of pictures, and we came back to the base, and we decided to go out again to film them. And we got there. We had no visual. We drove around through the thick bush in the long grass, no visual, and I think no. When we got there, Kura was lying up in a tree, so we didn't drive around to look for her. She was still lying up in the same tree that she was earlier. And as we got closer to the tree where she was in, and then she climbed down to the tree and disappeared in the long grass. And we started driving around through the block and looking everywhere. And then we drove around the timbered mountain where the cubs were, and we couldn't find them. And we just like bush bashing, and and as we were about to give up and started making our way back to the base, and Sebastian spotted Kura. There she is. He was very excited. They were spotted. There she is. With the cubs, Pat, with the cubs. Go left. And we drove around, and then we followed them through the thick bushes, and we filmed them. And the cubs were like running around and stopped, look at us, and then like ran for a short distance and stopped and looked back at us, and it was great. And the mom just kept walking and was completely unconcerned about us being behind them, and we eventually lost them in the thick block there in the drainage line just east of Gowrie Gate. And we drove around, and the lyrics start going crazy, and then we switched off the vehicle and we listened, and we drove around the other side, and we had no joy. And then we drove out of the bushes, and then we drove along the fire break, just looking for tracks if they have any crossover into Sydney's camp or Bergshoek, and we didn't find any tracks of them crossing over the fire break and the Bergshoek cut line, and we eventually gave up and came back to the base. And in the same afternoon, and we went back to the same area to try and relocate them. And as we're driving down on the fire break, and I saw the tracks walking up the road to the east towards Opry's Road, Galago shortcut that area, and we turned the vehicle around, we follow up, and then the tracks just disappear nowhere, and then that was the last time we saw gorillas and the cubs until this afternoon again. So I'm sure tomorrow morning they will pop out somewhere, so we'll try and follow up on them and see what we can find. And the rhinos yesterday afternoon, so we're very lucky with the rhinos, but unfortunately the batteries died before the end of the drives, and we had a fantastic elephant sighting just before the rhinos, and the whole herd was having a mud bath just off Gowrie Main Road on the other property, which is Chitwa, and they start walking away from the waterhole and across the road into Western Gowrie. We followed them and started feeding on the marilla fruits, and the babies were very, very, very excited. They were in the play mood, and they just kept running up and down through the bushes, the ears flapping in all the directions, and the mom were fine, and they split up into two different groups, and one headed the other direction, and a couple of individuals and a couple of babies, and then also headed the separate ways, and we just followed the ones that were walking along the fire break, because they were in a nice open area, and it was obviously a very good sighting of them. And the majority of the herd that headed the other way into Touchwood, they also came back, rejoined with the other individuals that were feeding on the marula fruits. And one of the female was standing feeding, and one of the youngsters came towards the female that was feeding on the marula fruits, and she literally stopped feeding, and she shook her head, and she trumpeted loud, and the youngster backed off with a fright, and then the matriarch also came towards that older female that was annoying the youngster, and she backed off, and then the whole group and also started feeding on the marula fruit. So it was also a fantastic sighting, just to see the interactions of the different individual elephants when they come together, especially when they've been split up for a while, and when they get together, you'll see the greetings and the trunks going up, and then smelling each other and doing all sorts of things. And then we left them, and then we carry on the drive along the road, and we bump onto the other two young elephant bulls, but we didn't able to spend sufficient time with them, because as soon as they saw us, and they just stopped whatever they were doing, and they moved off into the fig bushes, and we just carry on, and we found 4 rhinos just lying up in the water, just chilling out in the afternoon. It was a very hot day yesterday, very hot. I think the temperature could have been about 36, 37 degrees, because the whole crash of rhino, all 4 of them were like trying to share a very small waterhole, and they couldn't actually fit properly into the waterhole because it's too small. They were trying to squeeze it into that smaller waterhole. And we approached them very carefully because we did not want to disturb them. And one young rhino got up, looked at us, and she walked over the small dim wall on the other side of the waterhole, and then she lied down again. And Flippy also got up and started looking around, and lie down again. And we left them just still lying down there because the battery ran down. So I mean, for the past week, and then we've been seeing a fantastic sighting on Western Ngari, lots of elephant activities, and surprisingly, we haven't been seeing too many buffaloes around for the past few weeks or so. We've only been seeing this 4 or 6 individual buffalo bulls at Ngari Dam. But I don't know where the other buffalo bulls are, because for the past 2 weeks, actually since the beginning of the rain, and we've been seeing lots and lots of different individuals, buffalo bulls all over the concessions, and now, I mean, I don't know, they've just disappeared all of a sudden for some reason. I don't know where they went. Maybe they're around, they're just in the thick bushes, but at the moment the bush is very lush and green, and it's to see something, and it's very difficult. Even an elephant standing behind the termite mound or feeding in the thick bushes, then you could barely see it. So it's not very easy to see animals this time of day. It's not like in the winter time where the bush is less thicker, there's less water, and also less food available around. Then you see a variety of antelope species and all over the concessions. The lions also moved in, leopards also moved in, but at the moment it's very difficult. It's not the fact that they aren't around. They are around, but as I said, it's very difficult to see. But some people think, or theoretically, the people think that in the summertime animals do disappear. Of course they do, but they do come back, and they do just stick around the area. It is just, we just don't able to see them because of the thickness of the bush. And then again, after the rains, you know, it's obviously lots of water piles out there, so the animals don't necessarily need to come out into the large waterholes or Gowrie Dam or Belfry Dam to drink, because they've got water wherever they are. So they're just hiding. It's like leopards. I mean, the leopards cannot be seen if they don't want to be seen. I often tell people, how many leopards are in the area? How often do you see them? Now, there are lots of leopards around the area, but we don't see them because they don't want to be seen. So if they want to be seen, they obviously come out onto the roads, or they come to the waterholes and drink, and they lie up on the dam wall, or spend the whole day sleeping in the open area, or up on the dam wall, or on the nice large trees, which they prefer to rest in the large trees, like that big jackalberry tree on Gowrie cut line close to Gowrie Dam. And we've been seeing Karula and the boys laying up in that particular tree in the numerous occasions. So yeah, the animals are around. So it's just this time of the year that cannot be seen easily. And even in impalas. And I've also been amazed, by the amount of impalas that you see within our concession at the moment. Usually you see more impalas than anything else, but we haven't been seeing many impalas around. We only have a large group of impala that we often see around quarantine, and sometimes they go down to Gowrie Dam in the early morning and the late afternoon to drink water and just chill out around that open area there between the lodge and Gowrie Dam. But if you go out into the other places, like if you go up to Belfry Dam, there's hardly any impalas there. You go down south, you go up north, and there's hardly any impalas around. So, and again, it's because it's very thick at the moment. So they've moved into the open spaces where it is safe for them, because it's not safe for them to be in the very thick bushes, because they can be eaten quite easily by the predators. And the kudu bulls also haven't been around. I haven't been seeing many kudu bulls around, even the females. And yesterday or the day before yesterday, I saw a couple of females of hyena roan and terra also. So maybe one or two females, and but the bulls haven't been seen for quite a while. So also they're somewhere, or they're just hiding away from us. They don't want to be seen. Yeah. And the zebras also come and go. Wallabies come and go, and they don't stay here for too long. They just show up for a couple of days and then leave the concession. So they move around to different places and just exploring places that they've never been before, and also sticking around in the safe areas where they cannot be eaten by predators quite easily. Yeah. So yeah, I mean that's pretty much the highlights of the week, and the highlights of the previous week, because I've been talking about different sightings that we have seen on the previous week and again this week. So we'll see how it goes in the next week or so, and as I said, tomorrow morning we'll try and follow up on the Karula and the cubs, and I really would like to spend more time with Karula and the cubs. And then the one thing that I am desperately wanting to see on the cubs is to sex them. And as I said on one of my drive, that we need to sex them so that we'll be able to name them. And I don't think that there is anyone who has had an opportunity to have a good closer look at them and able to sex them. So at the moment they're still kind of not comfortable to the vehicles, especially when you get too close to them, and also we also try not to put a lot of pressure onto them, because we want them to be slowly but surely get used to the vehicle. So once they get used to the vehicle, and we're starting to get closer and closer to them, hopefully there will be like Kura's previous offsprings, Misha and Luna. They tend to come very close to the vehicle and sniff around the vehicle and wrap their bodies against the vehicle and that sort of thing. So I'm sure those cubs will also get to the stage where they will also get used to the vehicle and start interacting with us, and also get to know us individually, and just have fun with them. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. Tomorrow, the first thing in the morning, that's the plan. We're gonna follow up on Kura and the Cubs, and so please join us at 5:30 Central African time for the AM safari. So we'll be out there before the sun rises. So thanks for joining, and we'll see you tomorrow morning. Bye for now.